Nomination came with naming JD Vance as his running mate. NBC's Bree Jackson joins us now live from the RNC as day 2 gets underway. Bree, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dave, Danita. Yeah, there were a lot of surprises on day 1 of the Republican National Convention here in Milwaukee. One of the biggest surprises came when it was unveiled that JD Vance would be the vice presidential pick for former President Trump. As you know, he's the senator there in Ohio, and he's probably best known for his best-selling memoir, Hillbilly Elegy. But he was once a Trump critic, a vocal Trump critic, and now he's become one of Trump's biggest allies.
JD.
Ohio Senator JD Vance receiving a warm welcome at the Republican National Convention after being named former President Trump's 2024 running mate. The 39-year-old says he brings loyalty to the ticket.
The president can't be everywhere. Even Donald Trump can't be everywhere. So you've got to be a person he can trust, he can rely on to actually advance the agenda.
The first-term senator was a Trump critic in 2016, but since then he's changed his position and has been by the former president's side for court cases and campaign events. Vance's addition to the Republican ticket comes just 2 days after a gunman fired at Trump, injuring his ear.
My first reaction was just to pray for him. I was terrified.
Former President Trump surprising the crowds at the convention and making his first public appearance since the assassination attempt. On the same day Trump officially secured the GOP nomination, President Biden sat down with NBC's Lester Holt, calling it a mistake to have used the term bullseye when discussing his political opponent.
I mean, focus on him. Focus on what he's doing. Focus on his policies.
President Biden also weighing in on Trump's VP pick.
A clone of Trump on the issue, so I don't see any difference.
Protesters outside the Republican National Convention are speaking out against the GOP's agenda. Americans remain divided over issues like abortion and the country's future. With Vance's name added to the GOP ticket, voters now have a clearer picture of their choices this November. And if elected, JD Vance would become the 3rd youngest vice president in U.S. history. Dave?
Bree, do we know when Vance was first notified that he would be former President Trump's vice presidential pick?
Yeah, so a source tells NBC News that former President Trump called JD Vance about 20 minutes before he posted on social media that Vance was going to be the vice presidential pick. So he didn't have much of a heads up. Imagine getting that phone call, Dave.
It was just 20 minutes. Wow. All right. Yes. Bree Jackson, live for us. Thank you.
Not a lot of time. Well, we have team coverage for you this morning as our Candace Ha joins us now live with more of the impact Trump's vice presidential pick will have on Ohio politics.
Yes, Danita, I mean, you have to remember that JD Vance, he's still relatively new to the political scene at a high level here in Ohio, let alone on a national stage. And I think it's worth remembering that it was only back in 2022 when he first was elected senator here in Ohio when he was able to defeat Tim Ryan. But what would happen to Vance's seat if he were to become the vice president? Now, if Trump were to win the election with Vance on the ticket, Governor Mike DeWine would then have to appoint a new senator, and there would be a special election in November of 2026 on who would complete Vance's term. And while some may have been surprised by Trump's selection of Vance, one local professor tells us he thinks it makes sense.
In the wake of the assassination attempt, if Trump decides to tone it down a little bit, you can have your vice president be an attack dog. And Vance has proven to be a very effective attack dog.
Now, Danita, Dave, I think one takeaway here is that this is a really important time in Ohio politics. If you look now at Vance, the seat potentially being up for grabs if they were to win the election, we have to remember that this comes at a time when we have another huge Senate election taking place here in Ohio, perhaps the most watched in the country, between Sherrod Brown and Bernie Moreno. So a lot going on when it comes to politics here in Ohio.
Oh,
back to you.
Definitely, Candace. You can say that again. All right. Thank you.